Good morning students, this is our fifth chapter in our series on literary movement, and in this video we are going to discuss another important literary movement, which is Cavalier Poets. The poets associated with this group are Robert Herrick, Richard Lovelace, Thomas Carew and Sir John Suckling. So remember the names of these four poets and the titles written by these four poets. You don't have to study anything in detail in this particular group, Cavalier Poets. The reason being that we study this particular group of poets in English literature is that they have an important place during the Civil War of 1642. Yes, these poets were these poets were the supporter of King Charles I, who was later executed by Oliver Cromwell, the head of Puritans, in 1649. So we will discuss everything in this video, and we are also going to look at the points which are important from UGC-NET perspective. So before beginning this video, if you are one of those students who are preparing for UGC-NET examination or GATE examination in English literature, then you can simply place your order of our study material from our official website limitlessliterature.com. Check the link in the description below to know more about our study material. Now without any further delay, let's continue our discussion on Cavalier Poets. I have already talked about these Cavalier Poets in my discussion on Sons of Ben because these poets more or less were influenced from Ben Jonson. Yes, before we move forward on discussion on the Ben Jonson and Cavalier Poets, let's quickly look at at what age they were writing, because this will give us a clear understanding of the themes and the topics they were writing on. So actually what happens was that during the 17th century, early 17th century, it was King Charles I who was ruling England. He wanted the complete monarchy in the state. He wanted the complete monarchy in the nation. Moreover, he was a very expensive king. He kept on increasing the taxes on the people of England without their consent. Without even the consent of Parliament, he kept on increasing the taxes. Everyone was unhappy with King Charles I. If anyone talked against this king, he will either put him behind the bars or he will execute him. Even number of times he dissolved the parliament for raising voice against him. So this arrogance of King Charles I led to the rise of a new kind of religion or new kind of group, that is Puritans. Puritans are nothing but a category of Protestant. We have Catholics, we have Protestant, and under Protestants we have Puritans. The head of these Puritans at that time in Britain was Oliver Cromwell, and this group of Puritans led to the Civil War in England around 1642. For the next 7 years, the war continued, and which led into the execution of King Charles I in 1649. So these Cavalier Poets used to support the King Charles I, and on the other hand we have Andrew Marvell, John Milton, who used to support Puritans, who were writing in favor of Puritans because they too were Puritans. John Milton was a Puritan who has written Paradise Lost. And then we have King Charles I Cavalier Poets, who were writing for aristocratic life, who was writing for upper class society, for kings. So the theme of these Cavalier Poets were look like that of metaphysical poets. Metaphysical poets were talking about love and religion, but these Cavalier Poets were only interested in talking about love. So the theme of these Cavalier Poets was also Carpediem, which means seize the moment. Seize the moment simply means that you have to stay in present, you don't have to think about the future, and you have to stay in the present moment. And most commonly this particular word Carpediem, seize the day, is much more associated with love and lust. So it is about that you don't think about the future, let's love in this moment. So all these points were focused on the term Carpe Diem. Remember that this particular term Carpe Diem was first coined by Horace, who was written the famous work Odes. In that particular work Odes, this particular term Carpe Diem was first introduced. So they can ask you the question in UGC-NET examination that who coined the term and in which work this term Carpe Diem was coined. So it was Horace who coined it in the work Odes. So I hope this much must be clear, that these Cavalier Poets were writing the poems which have inclination towards aristocracy. And the word Cavalier means horse. The word Cavalier means horse. which simply means that a person is sitting on the horse and looking down onto the others. When we say that this person has a cavalier attitude, we say that this person has an attitude of an aristocrat who looks down upon other people. And that is the reason why Cavalier poets did not get so much popularity. Even in their own poems, we can see the boasting, we can see the arrogancy in the poems written by these Cavalier poets. So more than this literary moment, we have a metaphysical school of poetry, which is much more important from UGC-NET perspective. You don't have to study these Cavalier poets in detail, but you have to remember the titles written by these Cavalier poets. For instance, we have a question in the previous year examination that who wrote an elegy on the death of John Donne. So it was Thomas Carew who written an elegy upon the death of the Dean of Paul's Dr. John Donne. Yes, you don't have to read the elegy, the complete elegy written on John Donne by Thomas Carew in detail, but you simply have to remember the titles. So another titles which you have to remember from this particular literary group, Cavalier poets, that are Robert Herrick's To the Virgins to Make Much of Time and Hesperides, Richard Lovelace, To Althea from Prison, and To Lucastra. And then we have already discussed Thomas Carew's elegy upon the death of Dr. John Donne. Alright, so try to remember all these points from this particular literary movement, Cavalier poets. So this is what all I have to discuss in this video. I hope you found the video worth your time. That's it for this video. Thank you.